When I was a kid in the 70s, I moved with my parents and older brother to a small village deep in the English countryside. On the day we moved in, some of the villagers dropped by our house to welcome us. Some of them even brought homemade cakes with them as a gift. Whilst they were talking to my parents, my brother and I overheard them talking about the old village church, saying that it hadn't been used for many years and that we should stay away from it because it was said to be possessed by the devil. My brother and I looked at each other and sniggered, thinking that the old woman telling my parents was crazy or some sort of weirdo. The old church was situated on the outskirts of the village, and as we drove by it one day, I thought I saw a strange looking figure standing amongst the gravestones, staring right at us. But when I nudged my brother to take a look, the figure was no longer there. After convincing my brother that the figure was real, we decided to sneak out of bed later that night to try and find any truth in the rumour that the church was indeed possessed. We snuck out of the house just before midnight and with a torchlight made our way down the dark country roads to the old church. The gate to the church was chained and padlocked, so we climbed over the wall. The night was dark and still, but as we walked closer to the church door, a howling wind began to whistle around us, and in that wind we thought we could hear cackles, murmuring and chilling screams. My brother turned the metal handle on the old church door, but unsurprisingly it was locked. So with our hearts beating fast, we cautiously made our way round the outside of the building. About halfway round, we stopped and looked in one of the windows, but it was too dark to see anything. Then all of a sudden, an evil-looking face appeared at the window. It made us both jump and we fell backwards onto the ground. Then the inside of the church began to rage with fire, and the evil face cackled with laughter, the flames raging all around him. Both me and my brother got up and ran, running in and out of the gravestones, not stopping till we were safely over the wall. As we walked away from the graveyard, from a safe distance, we looked back, and dancing amongst the graves in the moonlight was a strange dark figure, a figure that we truly believed was the devil. When I was a child, for the holidays I used to stay with my grandparents in rural Wales. They lived on a small farm next to the sea. Whilst out exploring one day, I found an abandoned well in a field close by to the farm. I told my grandfather about it, and he told me to stay away from it and that it was dangerous. I asked him why. He said the well was really old and very deep, so deep that it was said to reach the very pits of hell, and to drink water from it would be like drinking the blood of the devil himself, damning you forever. I said to him, that can't be true, can it? He looked at me with a mischievous glint in his eye and began to tell me a story. Centuries ago, an old farmer's son got sick with a burning fever. The old farmer sat by his bed for days, praying for his son's recovery. But on the third day, his son passed away. The old farmer was devastated. Then one day he was sitting on the edge of the well, sipping its water, and after each sip, he spat it back out into the well, cursing God, blaming him for not answering his prayers and saving his son. The next day, the old farmer returned to the well and reached down into the water with his cup. The level of water had dropped so far that he could not reach, and then, all of a sudden, he saw the reflection of an evil-looking face with horns shimmering in the water, staring back at him. The old farmer jumped and looked behind him, but nobody was there. He looked again down into the well, but the evil face had gone. The old farmer stopped going to church and turned his back on God. He neglected his farm work and turned to drink, spending hours every day sitting at the edge of the well, talking, but to who, nobody knew. Some say it was to himself, some say it was to the devil. Then one day, weeks after his son's death, the old farmer was seen sitting on the edge of the well, arguing with himself, when all of a sudden the sky turned black with great big clouds that rolled over from the sea. Rain began to fall with loud crackles and thunder. Then a bolt of lightning lit up the land, striking the old farmer, who let out a loud scream of terror. When the storm cleared and the blue skies returned, the old farmer was nowhere to be seen. Some say when he was struck by the lightning, he fell down into the well, and some say the devil took him, but nobody really knows, as his body was never found. When I was around 10 or 11 years old, there was a man who lived in our area whom all the kids were afraid of. He was a scruffy old man who lived alone. He didn't keep much company and had a reputation for having a nasty temper. I don't know how the rumours started or how long they had been going around for, but people used to say he was into black magic and that he could talk to the devil. One winter's night, I was walking home with two of my friends after having a game of indoor soccer. We were walking past the old man's house when we spotted his front door slightly ajar. It was wafting gently in the cold breeze. We were curious about all the stories we had heard, so decided to take a look inside. There wasn't much furniture in the house, and the place could do with a clean. But apart from that, everywhere looked relatively normal. We quietly made our way up the stairs, and again there wasn't much furniture, but there was no sign of black magic or devil worshipping, or anything to suggest that any of the rumours were true. We were about to head back down when one of my friends spotted a small rickety flight of wooden stairs that led to a closed door. So we quietly crept up them, being careful not to creak any of the wooden floorboards. When we reached the door, we could hear muffled sounds of conversation. We pressed our ears to the door. Although we couldn't quite hear what was being said, one of the voices didn't sound normal. It was very deep and rough. Then one of my friends put his eye to the keyhole. "No way," he gasped. Me and my other friend pushed to get a look through the keyhole, but we both stumbled and fell against the door, pushing it wide open. The old man leapt from his seat, but it was the other figure who held our attention. He was dressed in black with what looked like horns on his head. He let out a loud animal-like roar, staring straight at us with cold, piercing eyes. Then he grabbed the old man by the throat, lifted him high into the air before dropping him to the floor. Then the horned figure leapt from the window and disappeared into the dark night. We called an ambulance, but it was too late. The old man lay still on the floor, already dead.